Welcome back to the Ed Show. The battleground story tonight. Newt Gingrich is cranking up the volume on his psycho anti-President Obama campaign. He's saying President Obama and the Obama administration is the greatest threat America has ever faced. I didn't know that. And he's launched a campaign to mobilize 10 million conservative voters ahead of the midterms. He kicked it off with a fear-mongering video. Here it is.
I don't remember any time in American history where we've had such a threat to our basic way of life. A genuinely radical, secular socialist machine ramming things through with no regard for American values or the beliefs of the American people. Again and again, this administration and its allies in Congress simply run over the beliefs and values of the American people.
Why didn't we use that for Psycho Talk tonight? Newt, do you really want to get into your background? And after being reprimanded and fined for the House ethics violations, you know, some think you're a loser. You know, some people say the way they do it over there. You're the last guy who should be lecturing us about values, Mr. Gingrich. Let me bring in Reverend Barry Lynn, Executive Director of Americans United for Separation of Church and State. Reverend, good to have you with us tonight.
Nice to be back.
Here we go, mixing religion, scaring Americans right back to the voting booth, and President Obama is evil.
You know, I always wonder, where does Newt Gingrich get his values? I think possibly from, he gets them in dreams after really bad fish dinners. Because, frankly, let me give you some numbers. The American people, 75% of us believe, for example, that gays should serve openly in the military. 75%. Newt Gingrich says, no, they shouldn't. The majority of Americans in polls and in elections say no to those school vouchers, the things that Governor Christie in New Jersey wants to implement in order to destroy public education. The majority of Americans oppose it. Newt Gingrich wants it. In other words, if the American people want all the things that I would say normal people want, why is he an outlier? Why is he promoting values that most Americans don't want? This guy always had bad ideas. We knew that when he was Speaker of the House. He was always playing fast and loose with morality and ethics. But now he has this overlay of religiosity to try to convince people he's changed. But the fundamental core of this man is a man who hates public schools, who thinks the poor are poor because they just don't work hard enough, and who is simply living on another planet with a different constitution.
President Obama yesterday was asked about being a Christian. This is his response, which I thought was very powerful. I want your response.
I'm a Christian by choice. You know, my family didn't, you know, frankly, they weren't folks who went to church every week. So I came to my Christian faith later in life, and it was because the precepts of Jesus Christ spoke to me in terms of the kind of life that I would want to lead. Being my brothers and sisters' keeper, treating others as they would treat me.
Reverend Lynn, if you didn't know President Obama, how good is that answer?
It's a great answer because it is what more and more Americans do. There's a lot of movement in how we grew up and what we become later in life as a religious matter. We choose what seems to fit, what makes sense, what are the policies of a religious organization that we think are good ones. Now, what people on the far right do is they say, well, you know, maybe we could be our brother's keeper, but not the government. The government shouldn't have anything to do with it. Maybe we'll be nice people, but we don't want the government to implement policies that are really going to help the people who are at the bottom of the heap. Usually, by the way, put at the bottom of the heap because of other policies that government has put in place. But the right-wingers have gone crazy over what that clip that you just showed, said, oh, he's just trying to make excuses. He knows a lot of people think he's a Muslim, and he just wants to show this. What he said is authentic Christianity as many of us develop it.
And the response today from the Baxter and some of the righty talkers was referring to him as the Ayatollah and also saying that he is evil.
It's so insulting. You know, they condemn secularism, secular government.
Yeah.
Of course we have to have a secular government. The alternative is to have a sacred one, a religious one, where the majority religion gets to make all the rules. That has never worked anywhere on this planet. It certainly wouldn't work here. Newt Gingrich the other day said he wants a new federal law. I know people say he's a naysayer, but he wants a new federal law to bar judges from using Sharia law in their decisions. Now, that's a big issue, isn't it? Do people call your radio show, Ed, and say, you know, I just lost my job today because of Sharia law. My house has been foreclosed by the Sharia law. Of course not. The point is, this is a man who is looking for these fringe issues to try to scare people when there isn't even a problem there in the first place. And by the way, if somebody said, oh, you don't want to have Christian values governing constitutional law either, he'd probably say, oh, well, that's different from Sharia. He's totally hypocritical.